we'll have an entire update of the call. So if you missed something or you want to go back over something, absolutely, it's no problem. Without exception, we're going to be getting one of the best economic data real estate partners in our state to give us an overview of what's happening and also what's coming, a little peek over the mountain of what's going to be coming through on the Arizona side, things we should be aware of. One of the most important things that we talk about at RISE and at Nova and with lawyers, and put yourself on mute if you're not talking, that'd be great, thanks. Is that if you can look over the mountain a little bit and have market intelligence as to what's coming, the reality is you'll be able to add significant value to the people you're going to interact with. I will argue right now in real estate, no consumer has ever needed realtors more than they need them now, because right now you've got the opportunity to offer knowledge, advice, and help to people that are looking to transact and get equity out of their house, where there's 78% more equity than there was 8-10 years ago, where they're wanting to know, how should I liquidate my house? Should I do traditional sales? Should I do, is that iBuyer thing look like? What's easy not to look like? There's all these ways they need your help now. And so having a little knowledge of what our market's going to be going through and what's happening is going to be a fantastic opportunity. So without any further ado, Ms. Colleen Schwab, thank you so much for being on our call, for being part of our partnership. We really appreciate you. And the floor is yours, my dear. Go.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. And just, you know, to echo some of Steve's sentiments, you know, I wouldn't be here today, right, without the great partnership of Lawyers Title and Bernie and Anthony, and special thanks out to the Gale team and Nova Home Loans for the invite today. This is, it's a real honor to spend some time chatting with you all today and giving a little bit of a snapshot of what we work on every single day and the data that we look at every single day to help inform our decisions and what we do moving forward and the outlook that we have for our region as a whole. You know, some of the stuff that we'll get into today will showcase how our region was really on a roll moving forward, coming into this recession. Well, I see a good friend also, John Hegrenus, welcome. But we were on a roll coming into, you know, into this downturn, but we have a ton of opportunity moving forward, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get the party started. All right. Okay. So just to kind of help set, let me make sure it'll transition, just one second. Okay, so to set the stage, because while some people may have heard of GPEC, I know that many people have not. That we, you know, we're an entity that has been around actually for about 30 years. And we were started back in 1989 on the premise that we needed to look at this market's opportunity for economic growth and advancement. And truth be told, the challenge that our market was facing at that time, about 30 years ago, was the fact that we saw that cities, maybe Mesa and Glendale, would be poaching a company from one community line across another with various incentives. Well, that might present some opportunities for each individual business that didn't present opportunities for our broader economic growth as a region and our standing across the US or across the globe. And so at that point, 8 communities started and they got together and they made these agreements that said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to focus on bringing business inward. And to give you a little bit of the history even of Greater Phoenix, because it helps to set the stage for why we are the way we are in many ways, is that Arizona was actually founded in 1912. And so we are the last of the 48 coterminous states to be admitted into the Union. And why that matters is because when you look at things like our infrastructure systems and, you know, kind of this melting pot nature of our community, that's largely rooted in some of those roots. And when we look at kind of what was happening as Arizona continued to kind of grow and get some people into it, we really saw that population boom start in the 1950s and 60s. And that was when air conditioning really came about. And so with that and having that population boom, and then you kind of fast forward to when GPEC was started, that's when a lot of that intentionality really started to happen. And so who we are and what we do is that we work with businesses who are interested in coming to this market. And so that we partner with 22 of our region cities and towns. We provide them with connectivity to key resources. We will do different market analysis. So if say that it is against Phoenix, maybe they're a California-based company. It's against Phoenix, Atlanta, and Austin. And they are working to make that decision on where they're gonna ultimately land. What we will do is we will step in, we will take all of the specs of their operation from, from their budget and all of that. We'll take all of that, their head count, and then we will apply those numbers to each individual market and give them a cost analysis of what it would cost to operate their business in comparison against the other markets. And so we also work with them on any of the sites that they may be looking at, whether it's a build to suit opportunity, whether they're looking for pre-existing structures, whatever that might be. And then once they move to town, we also provide public relations assistance on a broad scale. Our role as an organization, I would say over the last 4 or 5 months has also really transitioned. We have worked not only doing the regular things that you see on the screen, but we've also worked on assuring that we are addressing competitiveness issues within our region. So supporting our small and medium-sized businesses in the community through the PPP loan process, and soon to be on the forgiveness end of that to turn those into grants. So we've been working on a lot of these various topics in a lot of ways to make sure that a lot of the backbone of our community continues to stay strong. And so when we look at what we've been able to accomplish at GPEC over the last 30 years, we've brought more than 800 businesses to the region, creating at this point nearly 150,000 jobs with a really strong capital investment there. And so just to give you kind of that idea of what Greater Phoenix looks like on the map, I know, it's sometimes hard to see all of it, but it's actually 14,587 square miles is the territory which we serve. And with a population of about 4.5, 4.7 million. And so with all of that, we continue to evolve and work with all of our community partners, whether you're looking at downtown Phoenix or, making sure that we are looking at the communities on the outskirts of the region to ensure that they have some sort of equitable growth as well. So that's our intentional look at all of that. Greater Phoenix actually represents 73% of the state's economy. And so obviously when we're factoring in all of the numbers, and when people often come to us and say, well, why don't you serve all of Arizona? And we often say, well, there are organizations that focus on that. But for us, knowing that the heartbeat kind of the state's economic advancement is really rooted in this region as a whole. Key industries here, right? This is probably, none of these come as a surprise to anyone on the call, but advanced business services, financial services, we continue to see that advancing in a major way in this market. Healthcare and biomedical, another area where we have a lot of innovation, a lot of R&D happening. The tech industry as a whole has been really incredible. We'll get into some pieces of the semiconductor industry. I'm sure that many of you are aware of the expansion of TSMC, the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturer that has publicly stated that they are going to come to our market. A lot of opportunity with a lot of these deals. And these industries continue to advance our market, because when you think about historically, we used to be a market where we were known for having cheap labor, where we were known for having a lot of contact centers. But as we've taken this intentional shift, we've been able to really make sure that we have some really strong industries out there to be attracting quality business to the region. And a lot of then those knowledge workers that come at a higher wage salary, which then obviously fuels some of our tax base and gives other opportunities across our region as a whole. So when we're out there touting Greater Phoenix to various businesses and people, this is some of what we talk about as our strengths and advantages. And I think this is another opportunity, and a lot of these help to also dovetail into what you all do every single day in talking to people. Because this is, these are some of the backbone elements that allow us to really be strong in the business attraction area. So on our favorable business environment, right, we know that we've been a first mover state in a lot of ways. When you look at things like our acceptance or adoption of and testing of AVs, autonomous vehicles in our market, you look at the various sandboxes, FinTech sandbox, PropTech sandbox, some of those things that have allowed for additional testing here that other states have not allowed. The strong culture of entrepreneurship, this is one of the areas that we hear a lot about. While you don't see a ton of these major headlining brands coming up, what is bubbling up right now in our entrepreneurship ecosystem is really exciting. And the other thing is that it's a true meritocracy. People connect, and they connect based on merit and what people have been willing to sort of give and take in these mutually beneficial relationships to advance ideas and innovation. Stable climate and operating environment, right? We know that when it comes to Arizona, we've got a ton of sunshine. I hear a lot from people, especially in my role in marketing, saying it's hot as hell out there. Like, why would anybody want to be there? And the way I always refute that and come back at people about that is I say, put our worst day up to any other market's worst day. And 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10 times, I would pick, and most people would pick, our worst day in comparison to some markets that face things like natural disasters or having to shovel or having your windshield frozen over, those types of things. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to kind of combat that. And then, you get people thinking a little bit more deeply. Abundant water, energy, and natural resources. This is an area that there's a lot of myths about Greater Phoenix. We have an incredible group of people across our state who have done really intentional planning around water management. And so this puts our state and our region in really positive position. Now, that doesn't mean that we can be willy-nilly and not kind of think about this going forward. We all have to do our part to make sure that we conserve our natural resources. But we do have some of the best people in the business, where people from other countries and other drought-stricken countries have actually come to Arizona to learn about how we do what we do to manage our water. Ideal logistic position. This is our proximity to California, to the ports, to Mexico as well. And so we see a lot of opportunity there, especially with our manufacturing and distribution partners that we've been bringing to the region, and our talented and diverse workforce, and we'll continue to get into that as well. So on a demographic front, we will soon be a minority majority state in many ways. And so you can see the transition over the years, and I'm not going to, and the projections. I'm not necessarily going to spend a ton of time on this, but this is something that, everybody has, probably witnessed over a period of time. This has brought a lot of opportunity to our state as well. And population density, like I said, we serve this broad sweeping area across Greater Phoenix, and it's really exciting to see that. And you see that we're seeing a lot more availability or opportunity in some of the outskirts of the region as a whole. And our residents are finding opportunity in that too, by way of finding maybe more affordable housing or bigger housing for more affordable price, whatever that might be. But each one of the communities across our region is really coming up in a major way. But then when you look at the employment density, right? So the employment density of where people are going every day to go to work, obviously when it's not in these types of times, but where they're going to find work, you can see that it's a lot of the freeway corridors. And there's no surprise there, but it is kind of interesting when you think of the commute sheds and what that sort of results in. So they are seeing obviously continued growth really along every single major freeway. And we get a lot of our partners who continue to ask for that type of building opportunity or land opportunity within those areas as well. And so Greater Phoenix by the numbers, right? We've got our median household income of nearly $65,000. Our median house costs, our average commute time, which is still extremely competitive across the United States, our estimated property taxes, and our income tax rate. We'll get into a little bit of income tax rate here in a little bit as well, as we continue to kind of dive into this presentation. So I want to talk a little bit about FY20, FY21 for GPEC, right? We just closed out our fiscal year at the end of June. And so we have those numbers that we're able to look at. And because what we coming into our last quarter of FY20, I'm not going to lie to you. We were nervous. We were nervous at what our corporate partners and business partners across the United States were looking at. You know, knowing that we have a really strong pipeline of businesses that are considering our market, we crossed every finger and every toe to hope that they weren't all going to stall their expansion interests. And what we found is that at the end of fiscal year 20, we actually had an incredibly strong final quarter. Businesses were still advancing forward in their decision to make moves and put headcount into Greater Phoenix. They continue to see opportunity in doing that. And so we closed out the year with bringing nearly 10,000 new jobs to this region, 42 new businesses as a whole. We are metriced on high wage jobs as well. So that's an important distinction that we, just to kind of note that we don't just look for jobs that are, say, in contact centers or anything like that. We're really looking for jobs that are going to allow people to advance along their career journey in a major way, because we know that that gives people an opportunity for advancement. It gives them an opportunity for financial growth, for security amongst their family. So we really do look at some of those high wage jobs as well. From a prospect and even international prospect standpoint, we still came in really strong. So what I want to make sure people understand too is how we sort of get to those numbers, because these are probably two projects that you may have heard about. As I mentioned earlier, TSMC, the semiconductor company, this would be the largest project in really GPEC and our region's history. This is a huge opportunity for Greater Phoenix, bringing 1,600 jobs, $12 billion in CapEx. This was announced in May by TSMC, and we're really excited that they selected our market. This is not a done deal, and that's why they are not reflected, even though they were announced. Both of these projects were announced in May. TSMC still has some room to go in terms of what's happening behind the scenes, and so we'll continue to watch that. And our team is diligently working with the City of Phoenix and our state partners to continue to solidify that for our market. Zoom Communications was another one. They were looking at placing 500 jobs in Arizona and the Philadelphia area. And what was interesting about this one is that at the end of the day, Zoom said, hey, we've got 500 jobs we need to place. And it's kind of like a race for talent. They could place 400 of them here in Greater Phoenix, or they could place 400 of them in Philly and 100 here, whatever that might be. But they're really on the hunt for quality talent in the engineering and cybersecurity space. So if there's anybody that you guys know in that industry, we strongly encourage them to look at Zoom as well, because they are actively hiring in the market, even though they aren't going to be one of the logos that you see up on a building when you drive a freeway. So our client feedback too, because again, this is some of what we're doing, what we're talking about here is not just about what it looks like today, but what it means for the future. And so these projections on what our clients are saying can be an early indicator of what that looks like down the line. So you can see here that there was a heightened level of confidence, obviously in March, right? That they were maybe only 10% were taking a break per quarter. As we continue to go April, June, that number that said, hey, we're going to take a break for a quarter, obviously significantly increased. But now what you're seeing come August is you're seeing that number decrease a bit, which gives us an opportunity to kind of see that there's a comfort level that is happening with our corporate partners and our business partners across the United States and across the globe that are saying, we're seeing that there is an opportunity that like business needs to continue to happen. And we need to figure out what that means in this day and age. But we know that there's opportunity to cost optimize, that maybe there's an opportunity for talent. And so they're continuing to advance those decisions and evaluate where they would like to put additional headcount. And then obviously our on hold indefinitely number, that itself has decreased as well. And so we feel really excited about that. When we look at our prospect breakdown, when we're talking industrial and office, we are seeing that there has been a bit of a slight increase here and there in some of those industrial projects. And that is really, we sort of expected that as well. When you talk about nearshoring and onshoring, that, lends an opportunity for businesses to be looking at our market in an interesting, creative way. We have very strong office pipeline as well, again, bringing in those high wage knowledge workers. And one of the things that we, like I said, are continuing to look at is equitable growth. And we'll continue to get into that a little bit as we move forward too. So overall, we're starting out as GPEC extremely strong. We're excited about that. Our business development team, they are working incredibly hard to continue to bring people bring jobs to this region and make sure that we are staying top of mind, because you have to think the things that we would normally get people here through are maybe the conferences or these mini market visits that our team would go out and bring together site selectors and brokers and all of that to learn about our market. When those aren't happening, we've had to get creative in the virtual realm, but we continue to grow and it's been exciting. So our prospect activity, again, similar to the last slide, but just breaking that down a little bit for everyone, that we have, we're in a strong position here. So where are our prospects all coming from in this particular, just in this fiscal year? So this is just the ones from July to present, or until the end of July for this particular chart. We're still seeing a strong pipeline from California, no question there. We all know that California has its own set of challenges, and that continues to be an opportunity for Arizona. So we're actively working through that. Last year, California made up 30% of our pipeline. And so ongoing, it's presented an opportunity. Some of our recent announcements that you may have heard about, and you can always stay tuned to our GPEC website or sign up for our Connected Place newsletter on our site. That will give you, updates about sort of the deals that are landing in our market. So this is just 6 of the deals that have landed in our market recently. Just giving some, some color to who these people are, how many jobs they're bringing, and any other associating details. So overall, like I said, we started off FY21 strong. We've got strong results so far, which give us hope for where we're going moving forward. Strong financial standing as an organization. Our partners have continued to see value in what we do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are funded 40% by the cities that represent Greater Phoenix. They pay a certain cent percentage on a per capita basis. And the rest comes from our corporate partners, APS, SRP, Phoenix Relocation Source, many of our hospital ecosystems, all of that all help to assure that we're able to continue the work that we're doing every single day. And that just lends itself to our strong reputation. We are an organization that continues to advance opportunity. We push the limits on any given day basis, because we know that it's industries like you all represent that are when we're bringing either people or business to this region, our people are going to roll out the red carpet to make sure that they have an amazing experience here, no matter what area they need or what area of support that they need moving forward. And then a strong vision for the future. We know that Greater Phoenix is a great place to be. And as we continue to advance that, we know that we hear from our business owners, we hear from residents, and we even hear from outsiders who say, you guys got something special going on. And we always say, we absolutely do. So our economic shifts, right? We'll get into some of the current trends. So economic shifts related to COVID-19. We saw a lot of blue collar workers and hospitality workers obviously be hit extremely hard early on and into present day right now as related to COVID-19. We are actively watching if there's going to be a shift where we're going to see more and more white collar workers impacted by this. And so we are actively, like I said, actively looking at that. And that's something that maybe in 6 months we can come back and bring an update on any of the data associated with that. Push for major national investments. This is really when you look at that semiconductor ecosystem and that TSMC company that is expanding here, looking at the companies that maybe have operations in China that are looking at the United States now to bring that business back into this country. So watching all of those types of trends. Inequity. We're at a really critical point in really as a nation when we look at the racial and social divide. And we as a region and as an economic development shop, we're deeply invested in this for many, many reasons. Not only do we know that we need to activate our community to always do better and be better in many, many areas, but we also know that companies continue to look at varying things as they decide on what market they are ultimately going to select for expansion. And these areas, and looking at equity and how our market has approached the challenges and opportunities that have been presented, this, we as a market continue to work together to show that we want to be at the front line of this, and we are going to continue to advance equity for our region as a whole. And it's extremely important. So we've got our regional leadership and many others. We are actively working on many things behind the scenes to make sure that we continue to activate people, and that this doesn't become a topic that was discussed once and never again. We need to make sure that it's ongoing so that we continue to advance. And then education and digital divide. We'll get into education a little bit here later, but we know that it is critical for our future workforce that we have a strong education system here. This isn't just K through 12, this is P through 20. And so we need to continue to look at these areas. There's a lot of people looking at, at the importance of funding for education. We're looking at the digital divide across the state. We have 200,000 kids who are without technology and access to strong internet services. And so we are working with Phoenix Union School District and many others to make sure that we are advancing this, this piece of opportunity for these kids, that it is critical that if we are going to be in a virtual setting, that they have access to the tools necessary to learn. So we're actively working on that as well. And another area that we have recently released as a trend and something that we have seen for many years as a market is what we call nerve centers. And so sometimes our market will take a little bit of a brand hit when people say, hey, we are, you guys don't have a ton of headquarters there. And some of that's rooted in the fact that, like I said, we were founded in 1912. You look at a state like New York was founded in 1628, and Illinois 1818, and California was founded in 1850. So when you look at all of that, and knowing that sometimes some of these businesses, the roots were planted many generations ago to give them these strong headquarters, that we might not have all of those headquarters that we can sort of hang our hat on. But what we do have, and what we have noticed over the years, is that these businesses that have really strong brands are placing critical business units here in Greater Phoenix. And so this could be their R&D facility. This could be their evolution towards Industry 4.0, looking at some of that technological innovation. So those business units are coming to our market, and they're bringing jobs that are very, for skilled workers and give opportunity for growth for people here in the region. And so we're seeing that. And so we have an entire research report that we welcome for people to visit our website, and you can download the full report to learn about this. But really, at the end of the day, when we're looking at our nerve centers, we see that this is continuing to be an opportunity because it provides, STEM employment opportunities are going to be critical moving forward. We're going to have a depth of them as long as this trend continues to continue, making some of those investments in core and future digital infrastructure. So in order to have some of these highly innovative, highly tech-driven businesses here in the region, we need to make sure that our digital infrastructure is strong. And with the advancement of them in our market, our municipality leadership continues to look at that and advance that. Cultivating the pro-business policies towards advanced industries is similar to what we talked about a little bit earlier, looking at the sandboxes and the way that we are welcoming and inviting to new technologies, and the promoting urban development and mobility. We know that these are really important areas as well. So another piece of the puzzle in thinking about the clients that you may work with, and if they are working in a certain industry and you want to coach yourself up on that particular industry to help benefit them, to know how they might, if they're new to this market, kind of get assimilated within it. We actually have these use cases on our website. Everything from advanced manufacturing, software, IT, semiconductors, cyber, all of that. These are all available on our website where you can download and get a significant snapshot of businesses who are working in that industry, what the areas of opportunity are, and a whole host of other information. So we invite anybody, obviously, use that as a tool, as a resource. We update them every 6 months. So the information that you'll be providing to clients or contacts is going to be current and up to date. So now kind of diving in a little bit into an economic snapshot. So we've all seen the news, right? We've all seen the challenges that that's constantly presented. But what I can't stress enough is that coming into this, Arizona was extremely strong, right? When we look at our GDP, our growth, our historic growth has been incredibly strong. So, and then when you compare that to the US at 2.9% and Arizona was at 4.1%, you see that coming into this, we were in a really strong position. And that's largely because a lot of this intentional work and the growth at which we continue to see. I mean, coming into this, we had 200 people moving here a day, kind of when you broke down the numbers. And so that kind of that trend, it trickles into a lot of other areas and presents a lot of opportunity. When we look at our employment position, this is another important one to kind of notice, right? Is that at our peak, we were at, pre-COVID peak, as you can see here, a little over 2 million jobs. And then obviously we took a dip, and the deepest dip happened in that April of 2020. And we're continuing to see that trickle back up a little bit, but it's something that we watch very, very closely. But again, I can't stress enough that when we came into this, we were in a really strong position as a market. I don't want to diminish, any of the challenges that anybody has faced, but we have a strong place that we can continue to rebuild from. And then when you look at the industries that were largely impacted, no surprise, right? Leisure, hospitality, those types of industries were greatly impacted by COVID-19. We're seeing some of that little by little come back, but there's, we don't expect some fast onslaught of these businesses just rehiring, tons and tons of people and coming back to business as usual. We don't anticipate that, which is why we're continuously looking at other opportunities for upskilling of residents here. We're looking at ways that we can continue to work with our city municipality partners to incentivize businesses to provide upskilling. And because while I talked about high wage jobs earlier, really at the end of the day, we say that we have an opportunity in our pipeline now, which should announce fairly soon, that's gonna bring right around 1,000 jobs. Now the salaries of these jobs are gonna be around $31,000. It's not a significant, overwhelming amount of money when you look at an annual salary. However, when you look at some of the opportunity to hire on some of these people that may have been displaced from the hospitality sector, this is an opportunity that we see that we have to really evaluate, that if we want equitable growth, we need to make sure that we're providing with people with opportunities across that economic vision there. And so that's been really critical for us to continue to look at programs, systems, policies, processes, to make sure that we're giving people a spectrum of opportunity. So there's certain things that I, in my shoes at GPEC, I continue to watch pretty closely. And so I'll go through these and give you kind of a little bit of what happens inside my brain. I watch a lot of the media headlines, right? We have seen them. We have seen them all talking about our market. And as I work on branding this region and bringing people into the region, I have to look at what people are saying about it, because that's what's creating the narrative for a lot of people. And these are a lot of the, the headlines, I just copied and pasted them right off of the various news outlets of what people are saying about our market. And, this is one of the areas that we know from living here that, that sometimes a headline can sting worse than what our reality might feel like on an everyday basis. But these are the things that we have to look at. But on the flip side, we also see a lot, especially our local outlets, promoting a lot of the positivity. And this is one of the areas that when we rebranded and launched our Greater Together tagline back in October of 2019, this is what our region was rooted in, right? We, after doing so much research and talking to so many people, we know that we're a region and a market that comes together. So many of us are from somewhere else. And so at the end of the day, we reach out and we help one another no matter what. And so when we look at how business responded, at how nonprofits responded, how our municipalities responded to help one another, to make sure that people were getting, the PPE that they needed, or the gowns created by Fabric, a really innovative fashion nonprofit in Tempe. This is what we like to make sure that we're putting forward. And so we have an entire effort across our social channels where we continue to advance these positive messages to make sure that they're getting, as much play as they possibly can. So the other thing that I'm watching is heads and beds. So this data is from Visit Phoenix, and Visit Phoenix, obviously they work with a lot of the conferences across the globe and bring them here to Greater Phoenix. And so you can see here that they had 56 citywide convention cancellations at the convention center. And so that totaled a significant amount of people and a significant amount of room nights. Now they're starting to see an opportunity where some of these groups are signing back up for future dates, which is positive. But we're not even quite at 50% of those groups yet that have signed back on and feel confident enough to make those decisions. And you can see here that our hotel occupancy rate, we're 44%. I remember some of these reports early on, a couple months ago, we were into sort of single digits at that time. So hotel occupancy rates have increased a bit. Obviously, we would love for those to continue to grow. I know that many of our hospitality partners, obviously they have taken many, many precautions to assure that people's safety is of top priority. But why, when I look at these numbers and why this really matters to me, is this: conventions mean exposure. They mean exposure to our market, and they give people a taste of what Greater Phoenix is like. Maybe it's a convention that happens in November and somebody is coming in from Chicago for this particular convention, and they get off that airplane and they feel our weather and they get to put their down coat away and see maybe an opportunity for their life here in this market. And so that happens across, the spectrum of every person, of every socioeconomic status. So from my end, it might be that I'm looking at a lot of these CEOs that experience our market in those times that maybe aren't going to have that same exposure. Who knows, right? But I don't have a crystal ball to say exactly what the impact of this is going to be, if there's going to be any at all. I'm not entirely sure, but it is an important data point to continue to watch, to make sure that we are continuing to advance this conversation and just be mindful about heads and beds. So ballot initiatives. I have on here the California tax on millionaires. This one is supposed to be going for vote this month. This is an interesting one as well, because this is focused on raising the California income tax from the highest bracket, which is 13.3%, to 16.5% around that, which obviously continues to really solidify California's position as having incredibly high income tax. And so who this tax would impact is anybody making over $5 million a year. And you might say, well, that can't be very many people. Well, at the end of the day, it's really not. It's actually 0.5% of people in California that are impacted by this. But where this actually matters is that makes up 40% of the state's tax revenues that they are getting. And so in California, when California does this type of thing, that gives states like Arizona an opportunity to market to those CEOs and get them to say, hey, come look at us. We are currently have our income tax ranges from 2.9 to 4.5 on the high end. So you can see there's a significant difference there. Invest in Education Act. there is no question that that education continues to need additional funding in our state. This is our future workforce, and there's opportunities there. The Invest in Education Act, obviously, I'm sure many of you have heard, is back on the ballot for November, and there's a lot of different parties. You know, there's two sides to every coin. At GPEC, we are nonpartisan. We don't dive in on this on various policies like this. You know, but we will say that education is critically important. You have the people who say, is the opportunity presented by Invest in Ed the right opportunity? Some people say, hey, it focuses on K through 12, but what about that continuation of P through 20? How are we going to address the gaps that might be presented on either side of what Invest in Ed is presenting? You know, but then obviously we continue to need funding. So why this continues to stay on my radar, I mean, obviously for many, many reasons, but also this is also would increase income tax here in Arizona. So taking that high end bracket from that 4.5 to 8%, putting us in one of the top 10 highest markets across the country. And so we are looking at that because, you know, when you have people that are in California and when they are looking at alternate markets to consider, and maybe they're tired of history taxation, Arizona, we have always sort of been able to talk a little bit in terms of recruitment on having a lower level of taxation. And so these are the things, again, I'm not one to play judge and jury on the topic, but these are the things that I am watching, right? Because as a marketer, that will change the stories that I tell to advance people and entice people to come here. We have a lot of value propositions here, no question about it. But these are, again, the things that we have to continue to look at. Remote worker trends. This is another area of opportunity. We've all seen the headlines of various companies, especially tech companies, that are going remote and allowing people to make some different decisions about their style of work. And so we're excited by this opportunity. Historically, GPEC never would have done a talent attraction campaign. There are other organizations across the state that do that, while we mainly focus on businesses. However, we see this as an opportunity. So we are going to be advancing a remote worker campaign that is basically going to kind of highlight lifestyles that can be achieved through various parts of the region. We know that we have something for everybody here, whether you want a large plot of land or you want to live in kind of this urban core with access to public transportation and all of that. We know that we can meet those needs no matter what. And so we want to kind of present that picture to people. And that's what we will do by providing and creating various profiles of what life can be like to obtain those different types of, to make sure that we're connecting and landing, I guess, with people who would be considering our market from various demographics and backgrounds. And so at the end of the day, you know, everything that I talked about today, you know, we're in all of this together. We all choose to call this great place home, and we're excited by that. And so, you know, one way that as a marketer that I continue to encourage people to do is follow GPEC on any of your social media channels, and then please do like, comment, and share on any of our content. This will continue to help with the social media algorithms that are critical to getting the messages out to a broader audience to continue to present our market in a positive way. And then sharing, whenever you share your personal updates, if it makes sense for you, feel free to use that hashtag Greater PHX together. That helps to link all of our kind of rally cry across our region and you know, continue to tell the story. If there's anything that we can do in terms of presenting this information to other groups that you're involved in, feel free to let us know. We continue to want to evangelize Greater Phoenix, our story, our position, our opportunity moving forward. And then on our website, we have a page called gpec.org/story. We have a survey on there. It's a brief survey. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to fill out, but it's about what makes Greater Phoenix so great. We then take all of that input that we get from everybody. We have your own page on our website and share the stories of what makes Greater Phoenix so great, so that when we're putting that information out to other markets, they're seeing that people here have a genuine interest and love for this market as a whole, and really works to kind of create that emotional connection back to here. You know, I had a call the other day with somebody and they had said, because we don't have the same sort of brand that we can, you know, kind of raise up all together, that there isn't sort of one common theme. And I was really inspired by the fact that they said, but at the end of the day, like, isn't that what's great? Is that anybody can be, you can be anything here. And we're, you know, you can find opportunity. And so I thought that it was a really kind of neat way to bookend the conversation of saying that this is a place that is really special, and Greater Phoenix continues to present opportunities for individuals and business. So I appreciate everybody's time today. I hope you all walked away with some interesting data points that are new and interesting. And I think we've got, you know, a few minutes. So if there's any questions, obviously I'm happy to take them. I'll stop sharing so everybody can be a little bit bigger on the screen.
Well, thanks, Colleen.
First of all, Colleen, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Greg, you got a question?
No, man, that was fantastic data. And like I was talking with Anthony on the side, you know, it's all about application. And like you had mentioned before, providing this value and pushing out the communication to the community about the opportunities that are out there.
I'll be honest with you guys. I work in Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, Texas, Florida. The flight from California is real. It's loud and it's going to get bigger. So I would make sure I have this data. Those of you who are going to be bumping into buyers who are coming from California, and that is not something that's going to slow the next month or two. This is going to continue to be a trend, but they're going to want to know, because again, they think generically things are hot here, schools are bad here, which, as we know, that's not the case depending on where you are. So the more market IQ you can provide through things like this, it's a significant rapport builder and value add to every conversation you have with someone not from our state looking to move. Colleen, I'm curious. You know, this was so great. Look back, looking forward, it looks like, based on, again, having some multi-state touch here, we have rebounded better than some of the other states from what that 2.0 COVID piece was. Are you any data on that? You guys looking at things like that today? How to promote that, and the fact that we are better, because we were a hot spot for a period of time, and now we've bounced back better than maybe any state has so far.
Yeah, so from, you know, you're right. We have rebounded well, and the people that we work with are taking notice to that. So we don't have, you know, any direct data, but we do have the anecdotal data that, you know, that we have people that are now, just yesterday, I swung into our office and we had a site visit from a business that is considering our market, which we had a whole host of those that canceled as our numbers continue to creep up, but we're seeing them come back. And they're scheduling these site visits again, which presents a huge opportunity for us. I also wanted to address that somebody had asked about incoming relocation to Phoenix was 200 a day pre-COVID. Are their current numbers? The in-migration data actually lags significantly. And so we actually won't have those numbers. We're probably 8 months to a year or so out from having that data to be able to strongly report what that looks like. But we will be waiting with bated breath as well to see what those numbers end up looking like.
I got news for you. My guess is there are more.
That if I was a betting woman, I would say I would agree with that.
Absolutely. Any other questions, you guys, for Miss Colleen before we let her get back to data aggregation? I would like to just say thank you so much again, Greg, Anthony, and your team. Just this is so important. And again, any of your colleagues who were there, who were not able to be here, sorry for the call, just reach out to Greg or Lori or Anthony and his team, Bernie, Madison, et cetera, and they'll be able to share this with you, because the more we get this out, the better our state becomes. We're not in competition as much as we're in partnership with helping people find the right place to live in the state of Arizona. Thank you, everybody. And Colleen, thank you. You were fantastic.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Colleen.
You got it.
Hey.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.